closing doors. Please stand clear of the closing doors.
Hi, Flyers! What's up? I mean, technically, I guess you are. In fact, you're headed about 400 feet up. How cool is that? And this gravity-defying journey is all thanks to our amazing friend, the wheel. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a wheel, like no big deal. Actually, it's a huge deal. Wheels might just be the most important invention ever. Don't believe me? Believe it or not, you couldn't live the life you do today without wheels. Odds are, you've already used many wheels today without even thinking about it. Many are in plain sight, like the wheels on the bus that might have brought you here. From motorcycles to roller coasters, shopping carts to skateboards, and tractors to trains. Wheels literally set our world in motion. But what makes them so good at moving objects around? The answer is, since only a small part of the wheel's round, smooth surface touches other surfaces, it naturally limits friction, the resistant force that occurs when two objects rub against each other. Ever wonder why your bike is harder to pedal when your tire is a little flat? It's because more of the tire touches the ground. You can thank friction for all that extra work you have to do. A moving wheel uses something called kinetic energy, a type of energy that only moving objects have. Right now, this big wheel has kinetic energy, and so do you. The cool thing about wheels is that as they use kinetic energy, they actually store it for future use. Ever hear of something called a flywheel? Flywheels are special types of wheels used to efficiently store kinetic energy. These wheels are intentionally weighted heavier on the outside, called the rim. This allows flywheels to move faster for longer. Back in the 1800s, massive iron flywheels were used to help power heavy machines like steam engines. In 1893, one man had his mind on a really cool idea. What if people could ride these things? In preparation for the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, the Windy City was spinning its wheels to come up with a show-stopping attraction that would rival Paris's Eiffel Tower. The winning idea came from professional bridge builder George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. Ferris's idea called for a solid steel 260-foot wheel stood upright. It rotated around an axle at a constant speed against the strong Chicago winds, and it carried over 2,000 people at one time aboard 36 tricked-out railroad cars. Critics called the Ferris wheel dangerous fiddle-faddle and other old-timey insults, but when the Ferris wheel opened with the World's Fair, it was a huge success. But how did Ferris get his big wheel to work in the first place? Unfortunately, the force was not strong with Ferris. In fact, several forces were working against his wheel the whole time, and they still are. Consider the wheel you're riding. Its biggest pulley is the force of gravity. Now, gravity does keep us from floating off into space, but for a giant metal wheel, it makes just starting to move a whole lot harder. Like your parents, gravity really likes to ground wants to pull you down to the ground. Fortunately, wheels like this are designed to resist gravity's pull and keep you soaring. The wheel has a complicated relationship with another force called inertia, a tendency to resist change in motion. Inertia makes the wheel kind of like you on a school morning. It takes a lot of force to get it moving. In fact, it takes a whole team of engineers and operators. During your journey, inertia helps the wheel turn steadily until it's time to put on the brakes for the night. Take a moment to look out the north or south window for something like a tall building or maybe even a giant volcano. You know the one. Got your eyes on something? Great. Can you tell that you're moving yet? No? Well, how about now? Still no? At a glance, it might not look like we're moving much, but the wheel is rotating steadily at a little over 1/2 mile per hour. As we climb closer to a height of 400 feet, keep an eye to the ground below, especially toward the wheelhouse. That'll give you a real sense of how steadily we're moving. Another thing you'll want to watch up here is your weight. Think about it. Are you feeling any lighter? If you are, I'll be back soon to tell you why. Instead of pedal power, the wheel's motors turn several small tires that run against the rim, giving the wheel the kinetic energy to spin. The wheel itself is a lot like the front wheel of the bike. They both have evenly spaced spokes. Spokes are the straight rods that connect the hubs and rim. They support the wheel by distributing the weight acting on it. While the wheel may work a lot like the wheels beneath your bicycle, I guarantee they aren't made from the same stuff. Bike wheels are usually made out of light aluminum, but this big boy is solid steel. Why? Well, just 1 square inch of steel can support about 40,000 pounds of force. The wheel weighs 2,802,000 pounds on its own. It carries 30 capsules that weigh 6,600 pounds each. Each of the wheel's 30 capsules can carry a maximum of 15 people on one full 22-minute rotation. That averages out to over 1,200 riders per hour. It took a lot of math and technical know-how to design the wheel to carry that many people all day long. It also took a lot of what-if thinking, too. For instance, where there's rain, lightning is sometimes close behind. The wheel's operations team has its own weather tracking system so they can get up-to-the-minute storm readings. If lightning is too close, the operators unload all flyers and shut down the wheel for a nice nap. But when it's parked, what happens if lightning does strike? Most tall buildings are fitted with lightning rods, but the wheel has an awesome secret. It is the lightning rod. does Earth's gravity come from? Talk about it for a few seconds with your friends. Gravity is a result of Earth's mass, and the majority of Earth's mass comes from what we think of as down, like way down, thousands of miles into the Earth's core. Gravity is always trying to pull us toward the center of the Earth. If gravity had us by ourselves right now, it wouldn't be pretty. But we're not alone. We've got a nice sturdy wheel under us. If the wheel didn't have you guys to look out for right now, he'd be loving this side of gravity, because we're rotating toward gravity's pull. On a traditional flywheel, that means that we would be gaining momentum, which is stored kinetic energy. As a result, it might be like we're moving faster, just like coming off a roller coaster loop. So why don't we feel like we're dropping faster? In addition to rotating the wheel, one of the biggest responsibilities of the motors is to keep it spinning at a constant speed. To do that, they can't let the wheel pick up any momentum. As a result, the wheel's 14 motors are constantly working to push against gravity's pull and keep control over your flight. So, by riding the wheel, you're actually kind of breaking the laws of gravity. But when you do the crime, you do the time. Now don't worry, we're not tossing you in physics jail or anything, but gravity knows when it's been cheated. Remember how your body felt lighter at the top of the wheel? Yeah, you guessed it. As you step off of the wheel, your body might just feel heavier. Don't worry, just like you didn't lose any weight up top, you're not actually going to gain any on the bottom, or in your bottom. You see, even though the wheel is keeping you nice and safe from free falling, that doesn't mean gravity isn't acting on you. Technically, you're still accelerating toward the ground, just at a slower rate than you would otherwise. As a result, gravity's pull is going to make you feel just a little bit bulkier than normal. The engineers that built this rotating wonder used tried and true design dating back to Ferris's original wheel to prepare it for its relationship with gravity. But the safety preparations didn't stop once the wheel was built. In fact, they'd only just started. You already know that wheels weighted on the rim are the fastest spinners. While this wheel is definitely the heaviest at its rim, there is one factor that ride operators can and do control about its weight, and that's you. During training, members of the wheel's operating team are taught to load passengers based on how many people are ready to ride. Look around at the wheel's capsules. Are they all full or are some of them empty? Are all the full ones next to each other? If there are lots of flyers right now, every capsule might be full. But whether or not it's a crowded day, team members must space riders across different capsules so that the wheel is weighted equally. As it gets more crowded, more capsules might be filled, but the balance must be maintained so that no side of the wheel is too heavy. This helps the team member ensure the even pull of gravity on the wheel. Safety has always been a priority, and it often begins with testing. Before the wheel took its first flight with passengers, the engineering team tested its capacity by loading different combinations of capsules full of water barrels. This let them determine the best way to load future riders safely. As you have learned, a lot of forces are constantly at work on the wheel, from gravity to inertia and momentum. But at the end of the day, teamwork is the most powerful force. From its perfectly planned structure, to its mighty motors, to the crew that keeps it spinning safely, every part of the wheel and its team works together to help riders like you defy gravity and own the sky. Today, we've explored how wheels work and how they change the way our world moves. Before you go, I've got a pop quiz for you, and you will be graded. I'm kidding. But it is an important question. How can you use wheels to solve challenges in your life? There's not just one right answer. But if you spin your wheels hard enough, I know you can figure it out. Please make sure you have everything you brought with you, and stand by for safety instructions as you prepare to disembark. Thanks for flying with the Icon Park team, everyone. We'll see you around, and around, and around, and around, and around.
are now opening.
Exit around to the right and turn right. Shit.